Solving equations in introduction. So far you've learned what an equation is. It's actually two expressions that are separated by an equal sign. So you could have something like 3 plus 5 equals 8. Now in this case, this equation is representing a true statement. You have 3 plus 5, which does equal 8. Now you could have an equation, let's say 2 plus 5 equals 8. Now this is not true. It's not true. So the first one is a true statement. It's an equation that returns a true value. And then you have an equation that's not true. 2 plus 5 is not 8. Okay, so we can think of an equation as kind of a scale where you have a scale here and it pivots on the equal sign. Let's say that's the equal sign. So an equation, you would have some stuff on one side, some stuff. And then you'd have some other stuff on the other side, some other stuff. Now when we're working with equations, you want to make sure that if you start out with something that's equal, if your some stuff on one side is equal to some other stuff on the other side, if you add stuff to one side, you also need to add that same stuff to the other side. So if I were to, let's say we add something over here. Let's say we add 5 over here. Then this is going to start to tilt down if we don't also add 5 here to even it out. Okay, so when we're working with equations, if we change something on one side, you have to do the same exact thing on the other side in order for it to remain equal. Okay? So we can think of this is an equation. Now sometimes, like with this true statement here, it's just numbers. Here we just have numbers. But in algebra, we use variables. So we could have an equation with a variable in it. Let's say we have 12 equals 4 plus x. Okay, in order for this equation to be true, x would have to be what? What plus 4 is going to equal 12? Because we need the same amount on each side. So we have 12 on this side, and then we have 4 plus a number on this side. So if you think about it a little bit, you'll come to the conclusion that the x is actually going to be 8. Because 4 plus 8 is 12. So that's true. So if we put this on a scale, this would balance out. That 12 would in fact equal 4 plus 8. So in this case, x is going to equal 8. Okay, now, like we had mentioned before, if you add something to one side, you can add the same thing to the other side, and it's still going to be equal. So if we added 5 to one side and add 5 to the other side, it's still going to be equal. And we can do that with this equation here. Okay, so over here, I'm going to change the color. If we write 12 equals 4 plus x, now instead of adding to both sides, I can also take away from both sides. So I could take a 4 away from both sides. So minus 4. Now 4 minus 4, that's going to cancel out. And you're going to be left with x, with an x on one side. And then a 12 minus 4, that'll give you an 8. Okay, do you see that? 12 minus 4 will give you an 8. So we come to the same conclusion that x is 8. So with this one, it's pretty easy. You could probably do that in your head, that you know that 4 plus 8 is going to give you 12. But this is showing how we're going to use equations in algebra, where you can either add or take away or multiply or divide either side of the equation by the same thing, and it's still going to be equal. So in this case, we solved for x. So if you get a problem that says solve for x, solve for x, this is how you would do it in this case. You would subtract 4 from both sides. You'd get x by itself on one side of the equation and see what it equals on the other. So in this case, x would equal 8.